Good news you can use when you have a phone, yeah. She got the good news you can use. Good news you can use for your life.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Boomer Beat with your host, Beverly Mahone. As you may be aware, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is the month where we focus on the survivors, those who made it through and have stories of hope and promise to share with all of us. It gives me great pleasure to bring to you today Tammy Wilson James, who is a survivor and has a story to tell with hope and promise. So, Tammy, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. And how are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay, and thank you for the invite. As you said, we all have a story to tell. Some slightly different from the others, but we all have a story. So, and as you said, my name is Tammy James, and I'm a 6-year survivor.
6 years. So tell us about the moment you found out that you did have breast cancer. What were the circumstances?
Okay, all right. Initially, I was one of those people that did my annual breast cancer screenings. I always did those, and I made sure I got them done because we as a culture we sometimes don't do our breast cancer screenings. But me, when I started doing them, I was faithful about getting them done. And so prior to getting my diagnosis, I had gotten my screening the year before, and all was well. But I did have a small scare. They told me that we see a little something in your right breast, and so they did the screening for that, and all was well. Nothing was wrong. So when I went back the year after that I was diagnosed, I went in and they did the screening, and the doctor said, after they do your screening, they say, well, we're gonna let the doctor look at it and all of this stuff. So I went in and they looked at it, and the guy he said, well, we see a little something, but we don't think it's gonna be anything. It's no big deal. It should be fine. Just come back next year and do your screening. So I had a question for him, and my question for him was, if this were your wife, would you go further and get a biopsy? And he said to me, he says, nobody's ever asked me that question.
Wow.
And that's what he said. I said, well, I'm asking you, if this were your wife or your daughter, would you pursue this and go get checked? And he said, I would. So that's what I did. Now, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, it's no big deal. It's not going to be anything like it was last year. And before, when I was just sitting out there waiting for results and for him to talk to him, I'm thinking, it's cool. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going, if they say anything, because since he said it was nothing, I'm not going to do anything. But had I not even asked that question, I may not be sitting here today.
Wow.
Because, yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, we need, when your body will tell you, and God definitely will tell you when something is not quite right. So I thank God that he gave me the intuition to say, look, I know you saying this don't seem like nothing, but if it were your wife, what would you do? So I went, I got my biopsy, and I think it was like 2 weeks after my birthday. And so they called me 2 weeks after my birthday and said, we need you to come in because the oncologist needs to speak with you. So I went in and I took a friend with me because, this stuff gets really overwhelming and they're just throwing everything at you. This and this, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And this is what's happening and this is what's going on. So you're overwhelmed. So I took a friend with me and she jotted down everything that I needed to know. The whole time I'm sitting there thinking, I told that lady, I said, you talking to me? Seriously. I said, are you talking to me? I said, I think you got the wrong record. So she's sitting in there looking at me like this lady is. I said, no, you can't be talking to me because you never think it can happen to you.
Yeah.
Especially when you're faithful about getting your stuff done and you're thinking to yourself, okay, what is going on? And I'm talking to God just like I talk to him all the time. What is going on? Why me? And he says, well, why not you? So I was like, okay, we're good. So anyway, to make a long story short, I go in and she tell me everything I needed to do. And then when I went to see her in the office, because you go to the office while they do the biopsy and all this stuff. So when I went back to see her for a follow up to get everything I need to get done, I had to have a lumpectomy. And I I was talking to this lady and she was like, I have to tell you, she said that people of African American descent die from this because I have triple negative breast cancer, which means that it will come back anywhere in your body at any time. So she said, I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just telling you what the facts are. And the reason is, and people, we need to know this. The reason is because, first of all, we don't get our mammograms. Second of all, when we do get them, we do not follow up. We don't, because we're thinking, well, this is going to be too expensive or what, for whatever reason. We don't, follow up, and we don't do what the oncologist tells us to do or whatever, for whatever reason. Sometimes, opportunity is opportunity, and sometimes we may not have the ability to get what we need. Prayerfully, I had, the state health plan, so I was able to get some stuff done. But there are a lot of women that do not have that same resource.
Right.
So,
Or
and
support.
so, right. So we won't follow up or do what we need to do. So, and then when, I'm looking at her, I was like, okay, well, but she said, I'm looking at you. I've spoken to you, and I think that you're going to be okay because I know that you're going to follow up. You're going to do what I asked you to do, and you're going to, you're going to survive this thing. The two of us together, I had an awesome oncologist. The two of us together is going to get you through this. Now, mind you, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to go through because I had the chemotherapy and radiology. I had to have them both. So it was a journey. It was a very difficult journey. You go in and you sit there and they put poison in your body, basically. And what I was doing, because I wanted to keep moving, I just continued to do what I need to do. I would go to my chemo, take a day off, come back to work. Same thing. So when I did my radiation, I scheduled it for the evening. I would get my radiation and come back to work. And then my family was saying, well, why don't you go down to the downstairs bathroom versus you being upstairs? And I was like, no, if I have to crawl up the stairs, that's what I'm going to do because I want to keep moving. So I did that. There were a whole lot of, I have a very analytical mind. So when it comes to, when she told me, when they tell you you're going to lose your hair or you're going to lose your taste buds, my mind was like, hair, it's just a hair covering. So when it's gone, it's gone. It's fine. I did not have a meltdown like a lot of the people that I spoke with. I did not. And as far as the eating, when I lost my taste buds, being analytical like I am, I said, I know what it smells like and I know what it tastes like. I did not lose those senses. So I know I can eat a piece of pizza because I know what pizza tastes like. So I won't trick my mind into saying, okay, although this, you can't taste it, you got to trick your mind into thinking you're hungry. Or, I just put a plan into place for my survival.
Let me
Like,
ask you, let me ask you this question. In hindsight, do you think you saw some signs? Not because hindsight's always 2020, and we look back and say, when I was in the shower, I felt something, but I just let it go. Or what other symptom you might have thought, but you let it go?
yeah, well, not necessarily, but yes and no, because mine was so minute, and they were saying it was so small that I wasn't able to feel it. But as far as the previous scare, that should have been a little red flag to do a little extra to, I shouldn't even have questioned it when they found the first, thing, like, okay, I shouldn't even have questioned that. So that to me was a little bit of a red flag, like, this could happen. So yeah, somewhat.
And how long did you go through both the chemo and the radiation? I can't imagine one, let alone two. That just is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
That you were able to do.
I had 12 rounds of both. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kept you through? What kept you going?
Support, family, and trusting in God's plan for my life, and him telling me, this sometimes things you have to go through is not necessarily for you. It's others to see the faith in you and how I'm going to bring you through. So, I had to keep grounded with that and keep thinking about, okay, Lord, this is no fun. And it was not any fun at all. And it's lasting effects from this thing. They tell you may have some memory loss and, the hair thing and the taste buds. And, then you go through the surgeries and all of this stuff. But you think about, it's almost like when someone passes, your own set of your diagnosis, you're thinking, everybody think, when you get that big C, it's a death wish, but it really it is for some, but it's not for everyone. So people flock around you because they think you're gonna die, or the possibility that you're gonna die. So you get cards, you get calls, you get, people coming in and what do you need? What do you need? And what do you need? But it's almost like after they see that you made it, no more calls. No, after the funeral.
Oh, right. Okay.
You
I
see
see
what
what
I'm
you mean.
saying? It's
Yeah.
kind of like that's how cancer is. I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but it's almost after the funeral for cancer. If you're done with your treatments, or if you're done with whatever, people don't check on you no more. They don't find out how you're doing. But it's a lasting, at least a mental thing.
And I have heard people say that so many times as
Hmm.
far as death goes, and how after the funeral's over, nobody calls the grieving widow to check and see how she's doing, because she
Absolutely.
may still be grieving and she may still need that support. So I totally get that. This is when I was doing some research on breast cancer. One of the things I found was the fact that it was on the rise in women under 50
Hmm.
as opposed to women over 50.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know if it's honestly don't know, but I think it's probably been like that for a while, but now just the statistics are now coming out because they didn't think that, that people of that age could have breast cancer. But I saw people sitting in the rooms with me were in their 30s, even some in their 20s. So then they tell you, get your breast cancer when you turn 40. I don't think that should be. I think you should get your screenings when you turn 40. I think they need to change that to 30 or even 20, because like I said, there are people sitting in those, when I'm sitting in those chairs in chemo, and they were young, young ladies. So that's something that I think needs to change. At least they may or have a special screening for younger people, you know.
Does breast cancer or any type of cancer run in your family, or were you the first one to be diagnosed?
I had a cousin that had breast cancer, but in my immediate, yeah, I was the first.
And you said that it was the support of others who got you through. So now, what do you say to women who are currently going through?
I would say just make sure you keep up your screenings. Get you a plan. Get you a plan in place. Do whatever the doctors asked you to do, where how far-fetched it is. Just con- make sure you make all of your appointments and things like that. Just and listen to your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. If you feel like there's something wrong, there's probably something wrong. And take advantage of that support system, because there's a phase in going through breast cancer where you just, I don't know, you go through a phase of where you don't even want to deal with people. You don't, and you may be a little bit angry. Just go on and tell. I told my sister, I said, please don't take anything personal. I'm just going through something right now. So, just have to let folk know ahead of time that this is a hard time for you, and just be aware and gain knowledge. Read your stuff, but don't read side effects of stuff. Side effects will mess you up. They really will.
Dr. Google will mess you up.
Yes.
I went on to Google. I have some symptoms, and I went on to Google, and I thought, oh my God, am I going to die tomorrow? I mean,
Right.
yeah, you're right. So you
Right.
have to do your own research, and you have
Yeah.
to do it with reliable sources. I
Right.
totally agree.
Listen to your doctor. She's the one that has the experience and the knowledge. You don't. And
Not
because
Dr.
because
Google, right?
when you're going through things like that, your mind can either kill you or save you.
Ooh, I like that. Can you say that again? I love that.
When you're going through something like as traumatic as breast cancer, your mind can either kill you or save you.
Wow, that is so deep. You said, as we were talking about have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
What did your plan look like? And
My
what
plan.
do you mean by having a plan?
I mean, plan to go to every single doctor's appointment, plan to do some research, plan to find something funny to laugh about every day, because those endorphins really do help you. Find something funny on your television, or get around somebody that's funny, or and always try, no matter how hard it is, eat something. Eat, if it's just a couple of spoons here and there, because you can't taste it, you don't want it. You don't want to eat it, but eat it. That's going to help you get through it. That's going to help you get through, and put that stuff in your plans. I plan, plan your dinners, and plan your lunches, and plan your breakfast, but get those meals in, because people, and don't give up. Never give up, because I'm a living testimony that you can make it through this, and God will bring you through. I am.
Sometimes you do have to just go through to get through.
Absolutely.
I know that for sure. So breast cancer, as I understand, is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. First is lung cancer, which I did not know. I assumed it was the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the American Cancer Society, they estimate that approximately 281,000 new cases of breast cancer will be diagnosed in women in 2021. And it just doesn't seem like we're any closer to a cure today than we were maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate.
All
But the
right.
thing about it is higher because the age has changed. There are more younger people getting it as well.
But the beauty of it, Tammy, is the fact that there are nearly 4 million breast cancer survivors. You're one of them.
Yes. And I do not take it for granted. Yes.
That's a blessing. All right. So on that note, do you have any final comments or words of wisdom you'd like to share with my audience?
I did just want to say thank you for having me on. Like I said, we all have a story. And just because my final thing I wanted to say is, just because that story did not end well doesn't mean that's your story. Because I've always said that's not my story. Because I have to tell this little part. Um, there was a young lady, well, a lady. She and I was basically the same age. We worked in the same building. She and I were diagnosed with the exact same thing, triple negative breast cancer. She passed. I'm still here. So that's because that's her story does not mean it's going to be your story. So you keep fighting, you keep believing, and you keep trusting God's plan.
Is there a scripture that you relied on heavily?
Um, Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I emphasize the now, because people normally just say faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But now faith.
Yes.
So when you have these things and things go, you need some of that now faith. That now faith will get you through.
I love it. And on that note, there's nothing else I can say to that. I do want to thank you, Tammy, for taking the time to discuss your journey as you made it through as a breast cancer survivor, and to all of you who will be tuning in to listen to this. If you are on your own journey, please take heed to the words Tammy has shared with us. Remember, no two stories are the same, but you have a story and you
absolutely
have a testimony. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Boomer Beat. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and remember this: stay empowered along your journey. See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good news you can use for your life. If you want to get the info that'll help you throughout your life.